then there was Carol Robertson. Carol Robertson was from a middle-class family. It had always been middle class. In fact, it is said that Carol Robertson's mother founded Jack and Jill. 14 years old she was. And then there was Cynthia Wesley, vivacious, charismatic, always in something. The children were at church that morning and they were rehearsing because, you see, they were going to be in a big program, a big youth day program on that day. And the lesson was about love that day. Giant said, yes, I know. But Mom, if I don't, and if you don't, who will? Mom said, I know, baby, and went on to make dinner, and Giant got ready for bed that night, just as she always had. Lying there in bed, thinking about all she had heard that day, she just knew that she was going to have to do something. You see, her sister Vivian had already tried because she was at Bloody Sunday a few years earlier. And nothing was won that day in the way of them being able to say that voting was made more accessible. But it impressed Cheyenne that her sister had been involved. She was only 15 at the time. She was arrested too. When her mother went down to the courthouse to ask for her to be released and to do what she needed to do to get her release, Judge B.A. Reynolds said to her, you need to teach that gal to talk to white folks in the right kind of way. Cheyenne's mother had to beg Judge B.L. Reynolds to let her 15-year-old daughter go. And when he did, Vivian was so shaken by what had happened that she couldn't settle down. They had to send her away to a relative in New York. Cheyenne was lonely for her that night. She knew that Vivian would understand. She saw her mother's shadow fall across the light in the hall, and she pretended that she was asleep. Shy baby, now you remember, you go to school. I don't want you to be like me and not get an education. I want you to get a good education. You hear me? She just stayed still. Her mother stood there just for a few seconds, and then she left. Cheyenne started to hum one of the songs that meant the most to her. She just sang it quietly to herself until she sang herself to sleep. God is on our side. God is on our side. God is on our side. The next morning, she arose, and she went down to Sylvan Street. She stood at the edge of Sylvan Street, her mother's words ringing in her ear. She stood there at the edge of the street, on the curb. She looked left, and she said, the cars are coming. She looked right, and wasn't any cars coming. Clark Elementary was straight ahead. Miss Louise Bright was right there. And with that, an 8-year-old that didn't weigh 100 pounds soaking wet with all the clothes on and carrying 2 bricks. Stepped into making this day possible. This day. Stepped into making it possible for us to elect the 44th president. Stepped in to making it possible for us to raise our voices and say of a certainty, no matter what our color, no matter what our gender, no matter, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on marching, marching up freedom way. My name is Onawumi, and I'm grateful for Cheyenne Webb, for Kwame Nkrumah. I am grateful for Medgar Evers. I am grateful for Rosie Parks. I am grateful to Fannie Lou Hamer. Do you know what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
This is a dangerous enterprise. I do not at all want you to think that because you just heard a story that it is just lovely. Wasn't it sweet of that little girl? Dangerous enterprise. But I am proud, and I am marching in the footsteps of Cheyenne, and I might suck my finger too.